I cannot believe we're about to do this. We are actually about to drive into the forbidden exclusion zone at Plymouth Montserrat. Stay tuned, guys. This is going to be insane. Welcome to the grand finale of this 4-part mini-series in which we've been covering miles of wild, post-apocalyptic doomsday landscapes to explore firsthand the ruins and remains left behind after Montserrat's catastrophic volcanic eruption in 1995. Last time, we took a peek inside the crumbling, overgrown ruins of a world-class abandoned recording studio that saw the likes of Jimmy Buffett, Dire Straits, Paul McCartney, and several other world-famous stars as they recorded some of their biggest hits in musical history. After that, we explored the decaying remains of quite possibly one of the most lavish mansions that many of us have ever seen, before finally contending with impossibly dense vegetation to reach the top floor of an abandoned apartment complex with a stunning view of the Soufrière Hills volcano and the ghastly post-apocalyptic devastated capital of this island, Plymouth. Today, I'll be taking you inside the eerily desolate volcanic exclusion zone to explore miles of haunting ruins and post-apocalyptic landscapes that have been frozen in time after panicked residents were forced to flee for their lives, leaving almost everything behind. Hi, my name's Mauricio, and I love to explore beyond the beaten path. Join me as I travel around the globe to experience the most mysterious, spectacular, and unique hidden gems on the planet. On July 18th of 1995, Montserrat's Soufrière Hills volcano erupted after centuries of slumber and soon buried the island's bustling capital, Plymouth, in more than 39 feet or 12 meters of smoldering mud and ash, destroyed its airport and docking facilities, and rendered the southern part of the island, now termed the exclusion zone, uninhabitable and not safe for travel. As a result of the volcanic eruption, about 2/3 of the island had to be abandoned, including about 30 separate settlements spread out throughout the eruption zone. St. Peter Parish in the northwest of the island is now more or less the only inhabited area, with a population of between 4,000 and 5,000 people. The other two parishes, located in the south, are still deemed too dangerous to inhabit. Thus, the southern part of the island is now, for the most part, a desolate post-apocalyptic wasteland, and visits here are severely restricted due to the possibility of ongoing volcanic activity. However, it is legal to visit this area when accompanied by a government-authorized guide, a guide like Sonny Lee. Sonny is the tour guide for Montserrat volcano tours, and today he's agreed to take us into the normally off-limits exclusion zone in order to show us the haunting ruins of Montserrat's capital city, Plymouth, which many now refer to as the modern-day Pompeii.
The War Memorial Clock Tower sat right here.
Yeah, and is now probably completely under.
Yeah, yes, well, it's definitely above the height of it.
Yeah. Interestingly, the volcanic eruption at Soufrière Hills was so massive that it actually transformed some of the island's topography. In the past, Chance's Peak in the Soufrière Hills had previously been the highest summit on Montserrat, but it has since been eclipsed by various rising and falling volcanic domes during the recent volcanic activity.
So where my thumb is where we are.
Yeah.
From right to left, the second mountain from the right is actually called Chance's. And that first hump you could barely see below the clouds was the tallest point, 3,002 feet. The next mountain to the left of that is a new mountain that didn't exist and doesn't have a proper label.
Oh, wow.
They just call it the Soufrière Hills volcano.
The port of Plymouth has a long history, as shown in this picture from the late 1950s depicting a guard of honor for the Governor General of the West Indies at this very same, now abandoned port of Plymouth, Montserrat. During the Soufrière Hills volcanic eruption and its aftermath, about 7,000 people, comprising about 2/3 of the island's population, evacuated Montserrat, with about 4,000 of those relocating to the UK. Many others chose to flee to other islands in the Caribbean, including nearby Antigua and Barbuda, which were strained nearly to the breaking point with the sudden and unexpected influx of refugees fleeing Montserrat. Unfortunately, due to the crippled infrastructure in and around Plymouth's port, alternate arrangements had to be hastily prepared for evacuations, including an emergency jetty which was quickly constructed in the north of Montserrat to facilitate the evacuation of residents. Other evacuees were transported to safety via any other means available, including by helicopter.
Eric's Man Shop, library, the attic restaurant to the right, the far one on the right.
Okay, so no entry, just I'm gonna stick right outside,
Right,
basically.
right.
Okay.
The whole idea is to not let anything from the roof fall in.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
kind of the point.
Stay out of range of the roof
Right.
falling
Yes.
on you. Okay. I think the drone's gonna play some major work here too, you know? Wow, the broken glass says it all. And I'm so glad there's no venomous snakes on the island, otherwise I'd be like worrying, but now I don't have to worry about it, you know? I'm gonna work smarter rather than harder, so the rest of it I can do with the drone. For logistical and safety reasons, our time inside the normally off-limits exclusion zone will be limited to only a few hours, so we have to make the most of it. However, there's a lot of ground to cover, and we're not allowed to physically go inside any of the buildings anyways due to their unstable condition. So we decide to use the drone to cover as much ground as we can before our precious time runs out. With a bit of high precision flying, we're able to capture a tiny glimpse of what life must have been like at Montserrat's old capital, Plymouth, before the volcanic eruption, and even take a few peeks inside some of the dilapidated post-apocalyptic abandoned structures. It's hard not to picture yourself wandering through this dense, bustling, and noisy population center, enjoying the sights, sounds, and smells all around you. Some of the building ruins here include the Flora Fountain Hotel, a corporate office building known as the Molyneux Building, a police station, government headquarters, the bank, a general store known as Eric's Man Shop, and several abandoned churches and religious buildings. As we just mentioned, one of the remaining ruins here in Plymouth was known as Eric's Man Shop. This was a men's clothing store in Plymouth owned by calypso and soca musician Arrow, whose real name was Alphonsus Cassell. Internationally, his biggest hit was his famous 1982 song Hot Hot Hot, known from the original by Arrow and numerous later versions by other musicians. Interestingly, we actually explored Arrow's lavish mansion earlier here on the island during episode 2 of this miniseries. What we found there was stunning, and today we're grateful to have the opportunity to now visit the site of Arrow's former business here, which is still fondly remembered as Arrow's Man Shop. While exploring the ruins of Plymouth, one of the buildings that we passed is the now crumbling bank building. In a curious but true story, a group of robbers targeted the unguarded vaults of the empty bank in Plymouth in early 1998, shortly after the city had been abandoned. They must have thought they'd hit an easy jackpot when they made off with a cool $300,000 US. However, what they didn't realize is that the bank had kept records of the serial numbers of the paper cash bills left in the vault, which when spent made them easy to trace right back to the criminals. As a result, the robbers were arrested just a few months after the robbery. Interestingly, their defense was that they claimed to have been salvaging the money from the abandoned bank building for safekeeping. Needless to say, that did not work, and the group of bank robbers was sentenced to prison. Look at that crumbling terrace right there. Time has not been kind to it. Wow. We're like level with some of these balconies now. Soufrière Hills has become one of the most closely monitored volcanoes in the world since its eruption began, improving predictions of volcanic activity and keeping visitors to the exclusion zone, like us, as safe as possible. In addition, our car has to be ready to retreat towards the exclusion zone exit at all times, as the situation near the volcano can deteriorate rapidly at any time. Another one of the abandoned buildings in the area that we're checking out is known as the Flora Fountain Hotel. The Flora Fountain Hotel was built in 1984, and it was named for a beautiful fountain that once sat in the middle of the elegant circular wing of the now abandoned building complex. Unfortunately, like so many other structures here, the fountain is now buried under several feet of ash and dirt after multiple eruptions from the Soufrière Hills volcano. Few, if any, would have imagined the post-apocalyptic scene that now greets us as we wander around this eerie, quiet, and utterly empty cityscape. However, as amazing as our tour of the exclusion zone has been so far, we know that we've only just merely scratched the surface of the seemingly endless miles of apocalyptic ruins that still lay out there as an eerie, chilling reminder of the volcano's power and fury. Legally visiting most of the island's abandoned buildings is pretty much out of question, as due to safety concerns, government-authorized tours must stay near their vehicle at all times for a quick evacuation should it become necessary. Thus, we can only go wherever the roads take us, and since there are no functional roads to the more distant sections of Plymouth and the towns beyond it, that area is strictly forbidden. However, with some careful drone flying, we're going to take a peek at some of the more distant structures left behind after the volcanic eruption, rarely seen by human eyes due to the strict enforcement of safety regulations in the exclusion zone. Some of these forbidden buildings and settlements are several miles deep inside the exclusion zone, and as I try to pilot through the strong, unpredictable Montserratian winds and even occasional downpours, my trusty Mavic drone explores the otherworldly hellscape left behind after the furious onslaught of the Soufrière Hills volcanic eruption several decades ago. One of the more notable ruins way out here on the hillside leading up to the volcano is the crumbling, overgrown complex of the American University of the Caribbean. This was actually the main campus of the American University of the Caribbean in Plymouth Montserrat before the university was forced to relocate to St. Martin due to the 1995 volcanic eruption. AUC was founded in January of 1978 by American educator Dr. Paul Tien in 1978, who was actually born in Tianjin, China, and grew up in Taiwan before getting his degree in America. So, do you remember during the previous episode of this Montserrat exploration series when I found that American University of the Caribbean pamphlet in that incredible, lavish abandoned mansion? Well, that pamphlet was actually referring to this multi-building complex right here. Who knows, maybe that abandoned mansion was actually Mr. Paul Tien's house itself. I don't think there's any way to confirm that, but it would certainly have been a mansion worthy of the founder of a major university like this one. And the house's interior had extensive amounts of Chinese language literature, which would fit what we know about Mr. Tien's Chinese origins. I'd love to know what you think about that. Do you believe that this may have been Mr. Tien's mansion before the Soufrière Hills volcanic eruption? Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Not too far from the university ruins lie the ominous remains of what was once the glorious mansion of a prominent, powerful man on the island, the governor himself. Just like many other structures, Plymouth's original governor's mansion, or government house as it's called here, is off limits, as there are no roads left intact to reach this part of the exclusion zone. You can still observe a few traces of its former grandeur, back from the times when it was still used for its many functions, including, of course, to house the governor of the island, but also to hold national and ceremonial functions, host receptions and meetings with foreign dignitaries and heads of state, and even to house the King or Queen of England whenever they were staying in Montserrat. There's seemingly no end to the miles of crumbling, post-apocalyptic infrastructure dotting the eerie, silent landscape around Plymouth. And it's even more astonishing to think that beyond this city, there are countless other abandoned settlements even further away that have been either partially or completely consumed by either the jungle or by mud, rocks, and ash, including Kinsale, St. Patrick's, and Bramble Village. So if we were to ignore all of the rules and regulations and continue traveling eastward inside the exclusion zone, we would eventually arrive here, to the ghostly, buried remains of Montserrat's lost airport, the W.H. Bramble Airport, which was abandoned on June 25th of 1997 due to the destructive effects of the eruption of the nearby Soufrière Hills volcano. The closure of this airport complicated transportation to and from this island even further, and for several years after its closure, Montserrat was only accessible by helicopter or boat until a new airport was finally built elsewhere on July of 2005. On February 5th of 2010, whatever was left of the original abandoned W.H. Bramble Airport was completely buried when a volcanic explosion propelled pyroclastic flows that reached as far as the island's coast. Now, all that's left are memories and the crumbling ruins of an old, tall structure that was once located not far from the buried airport's control tower. So great was the power of the volcano that in addition to burying the former airport and an untold number of structures, buildings, and settlements, it also created brand new land by the coast, actually expanding the size of Montserrat and reclaiming some land from the sea to form miles of beautiful but forbidden volcanic coastlines that, despite their majestic appearance, are off limits to the public due to their location inside the volcanic exclusion zone.
And so this is an apartment building or something over here, or what is this?
Yeah, an attorney's office and a supermarket beneath it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Called the National State Building.
Multi-purpose building.
Our tour of the exclusion zone continues with only a few occasional interruptions. Once in a while, we hear the overhead sounds of the Montserrat helicopter tours, which generally speaking consist of an approximately 45-minute tour flight over Montserrat. These will usually set you back about $300 to $500, and they originate from the nearby island of Antigua. In my humble opinion though, there's just nothing quite like exploring the amazing landscape of Montserrat on foot. As we continue our exploration of Montserrat's exclusion zone, we come across the remains of an overgrown, abandoned church with a majestic architectural style. These are the remains of St. Anthony's Church, which was founded in 1636. Just 4 years after the establishment of the first European colony on the island of Montserrat in 1632. Visitors are currently not permitted to enter inside the church. But once again, these are the kinds of situations where having an accurate, maneuverable drone comes in handy. It's mind-blowing to see how profoundly nature can transform entire landscapes of noise, movement, and activity into quiet oases of peace and serenity. After concluding our tour of the exclusion zone, we head out to explore an extensive, spectacular abandoned hotel located just outside the exclusion zone's outer perimeter. These are the ruins of the now abandoned Montserrat Springs Hotel. This was once a high-end hotel that boasted comfortable accommodations, a spacious dining room, an outside swimming pool with amazing views, and even its very own thermal springs.
Look at the plant just randomly growing in the main lobby right here. Manager's office. You can still see the curtains. That's incredible.
And you have two options. To the left are the hotel rooms, to the right, the dining room.
Oh, wow. Oh, tough choice. Oh, up there's stairs. I'm gonna go this way. I like the stairs idea. That's incredible.
And there's some adjoining rooms as well.
Yeah. Wow. What a view. Look at that. I'm guessing the view was clearer before the eruption.
Given the quality of its furnishings, service, and amenities, it's little surprise that this hotel would sometimes host distinguished guests. And even the Rolling Stones are known to have stayed here at one point. Can you imagine walking down these very rooms and hallways during your stay and running into one of the most iconic bands in American history?
Well, the lower level is a little tedious, but it's doable. But it is a little dangerous.
Oh, danger is my
Just for danger, right?
danger is my middle name. Oh, that's sick. Wow. 107. Wow, this door is like half gone.
This is as cool as it gets here. See, this is what I came for.
106.
Oh wow, and this is ash down here, isn't it?
All of it, yeah. That's why I keep saying it.
This is
It's not good.
These are some monster wasps' nests. I would not want to be here when the wasps are there. Presumably the bed is still under the ash, maybe, or I don't know if it was emptied.
Yeah, I brought most of it there.
Look at this toilet. It's like in the ground, so is the tub. This is insane. There's the door handle right here.
I don't have enough ice and a lot of ice in.
Oh wow, you can see the top of a bed. Wow. These are the best urban explorations when you see decay being taken over by nature. Just, you get the best of both worlds, history and natural beauty.
As you can see, there's a thick level of ash and dirt covering the ground, as is common in some of Montserrat's abandoned buildings, many of which are still actively sinking and gradually disappearing into eternal oblivion beneath the ground.
You can almost hit the fan here. I feel tall. Wow, the curtains are like totally intact.
There's just so much left to see here. In addition to some furniture and original objects left behind, there are also records dating back to the time this place was open, way back in the mid-90s. It's like these dark, eerie ruins have been completely frozen in time.
Wow, there's a typewriter in here. No way, it's an old school typewriter. Amazing. Oh, this is financial information. I don't know, man. Yeah, the date is from 96, so just before evacuation.
This is the view from here.
Oh, wow. Let's see here.
Little dessert menu. Sorry, Crystal.
This would have been indoors then, huh?
Would have been nice to visit.
Oh, this is the pool. You could, wow. You could barely even tell it was a pool.
Maybe Crystal.
The dining room and outside pool area are no less impressive than the guest rooms that we just visited, especially when you compare its current condition with pictures of its old glory days, where you can truly see how grand this place would have been while dining here, with glasses clinking, laughter, and stunning views of the Soufrière Hills volcano, which, unbeknownst to anyone at the time, would soon unleash havoc on the land.
This first one right here.
Oh.
So shooting Woggy, Donald.
Yeah.
The bar and the buffet and the dining.
This is crazy. Yeah, this is amazing. I can't recommend Montserrat enough, and I can't recommend Montserrat Island tours enough with the tour guide Sunny Lee.
There's no doubt that the Soufrière Hills eruption has completely transformed the lives of Montserrat's inhabitants. Their capital lies in ruins, while jobs, schools, and community activities have been disrupted. At the time of the eruption, the unaffected north side of the island lacked the settlements and infrastructure to cope with the influx of newcomers from the south. However, despite these difficulties, there are growing signs that the story of Montserrat isn't quite finished just yet. The north side of the island is now being populated and developed. Much of the northern half of the island was unaffected by the volcanic activity, and Montserrat's lush, green vegetation still covers vast stretches of the island's rugged, majestic landscape. The population has bounced back from little more than 1,000 people at the lowest point after the eruption to over 4,000 on January of 2025. A new airport, Gerald's Airport, opened in 2005, and 2 airlines offer flights from Antigua. In addition, Montserrat is gradually starting to witness the revival of its tourism industry. The Montserrat Volcano Observatory provides stunning views of the smoking Soufrière Hills volcano and the ominous ruins that surround it. The island also offers several pristine beaches with aqua-clear water, including several spectacular beaches coated in jet black sand due to their volcanic origins. So, despite the adversities they've endured, local residents are forging ahead, and the future is bright for this resilient island community. The island's message to the world is loud and clear. Montserrat is here to stay. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed my video, please don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you on my next adventure.